Hello, good evening, everyone. Myself, Anshul Sharma. Next to me is Lucas, Anshul Gera, and Neil. The overall agenda of today's presentation is broadly divided in three categories. The first element talks about Easy Credit Australia, more commonly referred as ECA in our presentation, where we will try to gain understanding on the environment of ECA by talking about ECA's background, their organizational structure, and to view an organization through multiple metaphors. Now, with the help of these metaphors, we will try to understand what are the dominant values and objectives within ECA. In next element, we will analyze the problem of file server with the help of rich picture and cognitive maps. We will take into account the multiple stakeholders that have different views, objectives, and assumptions about the capabilities of a data warehouse. The cognitive map specifically will illustrate the CIO and head of risk management's perspective towards the problem situation. The last bit will touch upon ethics methodology, where we will understand what this framework is and how it will help in analyzing the problem situation. We will conclude this presentation by giving a final recommendation whether if implementing a data warehouse proves to be a viable solution for Easy Credit's problem situation or not. Moving on, we will now give a bit of a background of ECA. ECA is a Melbourne-based company with many branches throughout Australia and one of the country's largest credit finance company. They have four product services primarily: credit card, personal finance, consumer finance, mortgages, and insurance. ECA typically caters a diverse segment of customers who are young and have just begun their professional life or have no established credit history at all. So they also include people in the low to middle salary brackets, people with casual permanent employment, or even university students. The risk profile of Easy Credit customer is moderate to high because many customers of ECA have not been able to find credit at one of the Australia's other banks because of liquidity problem, bad credit history, or no employment history at all. So the list of defaulters on their loan is higher than the other Australian banks. As a result of that, they have variable pricing for their services, and the percentage ranges from 13 to 43%, where the low rate is for the customers who are considered a low risk, and the high rate is for the customers who are considered very high risk. Next up is the organization metaphors. The first metaphor that best describes the ECA is the organization as a political system where employees fight for their special interests and generally have divergent interests, which are not in the interest of the organizations as such. For example, within ECA, stakeholders have conflicting interests and views and hold other departments accountable for the problem of file server. This metaphor also sees organizations as loose network of people with conflicting views towards something. Let's say, for example, head of credit card says that hiring an external consultant would be an ideal scenario for the problem situation. And on the other side, CEO hates spending money on external consultants and want IT team to undertake this project. The second metaphor that describes ECA is the organization as culture. According to the culture metaphor, organizations can be seen as socially constructed groups and sub-organizations. For instance, culture at ECA is much more diversified, where different group of people are responsible for performing their respective duties and maintain a good communication or flow of information between different groups. Leadership style also influences the culture in an organization to a great extent. For example, ECA is aware that the risk team is an important function to the overall success of the company, so they make sure that they are given bonus incentives if they meet specified performance targets. The next metaphor is the organization as machines, where some organizations have a structure to work and run as a machine, where precision, speed, clarity, regularity is achieved through a fixed division of tasks, supervision, detailed rules and regulations. It also views organizations as highly routinized mechanistic unit where individuals or groups are performing repetitive work. For example, in case of ECA, every night the different production systems load their data to a shared file server for risk analysts to get the reporting done. The basic concept of the machine as a metaphor is the idea you can set up the organization to follow the same principles as a machine. This means that each process is carefully selected and monitored in order to make sure that it is done as efficient as possible. The next segment of presentation describes the organization structure of ECA, and I would like to ask Lucas to please take over and explain. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshu. Starting the organization structure, the Chief Executive Officer stays on the top, and on the reporting infrastructure, we have the Chief Information Officer, which is the head of a team in IT, the head of credit card, which is also responsible for a credit card team, the head of mortgage, also responsible for a mortgage team, the head of personal finance, which also is head of the personal finance team, the head of customer finance and consumer finance team. The end, we have the head of risk management, which have a team of mathematicians, statisticians, and risk analysts. The next step on our presentation is the rich picture. Our rich picture shows interactions between departments and the file server, starting with the product executives. The head of credit card complained to the head of risk management that they are not getting the reports. Also, other product executives complain that reports are missing and reports are slow. Answering to the product executives, the risk management teams complain that they don't own the file server, that they need a reliable system, and the IT must address the file server issues, that product executives should pay for the new system, and that product reports only for target or bonuses. The product executives then go back to the IT information officer, which says that they don't have money to a new system, that they need to gain confidence from product executives and risk management, and the file server is difficult to maintain. The chief executive agrees and is committed to this system, but don't know how to fund it. The risk management teams need the file server to produce reports and provide to product executives. They upload files to server systems and from file server. The file server loads files from the productive system to generate reports for the risk management team. The file server has current performance decrease. His batches are not loading due to lack of disk space. The file server has an old operational system, Windows XP, and the analyst cannot upload files due to space restriction. At the same time, Easy credit card employees store personal data on the server because anyone can access. We believe that our rich picture shows all the interactions and different perspectives over the issue of the file server. Next, Anshu is going to present the cognitive maps for the CIO and for the head of risk management team.
Thank you so much, Anshu. Now we'll talk about two separate cognitive maps, one illustrating the CIO's views of the problem and the other illustrating the head of risk management's view of the problem. Now, what are cognitive maps? Cognitive maps help an individual clarify and make explicit and structural thinking to gain deeper insight of their own understanding and context of the problem. The general approach to make a cognitive map is to extract the subjective statements from individuals within a particular problem domain. The major advantage that we derive out of making a cognitive map is that it serves as a tool to facilitate decision making, problem solving, and negotiation within the context of organizational intervention. So first, let's start talking about the problem stated by the CIO. The CIO complains about the reduced budget, which makes it difficult for him to manage the growing requirements of the organization. In reference to the file server, the CIO complains that there is not enough memory for the increased number of users and there is inadequate maintenance of file server as well. He also complains about the lack of support of file server to the various employees and about the outdated system which has been there for a while and has not been catering to the growing needs of the organization. The file server is definitely difficult to manage and is totally thrown off at peak times where the user demand more than expected. Also, the lack of control of file server is the major problem. All the users are storing their personal data on the file server and there is no control over access, who can access it and who cannot. Looking at these problems as stated by the CIO, we created a cognitive map, and the four issues that we came up with was the first one being is that the budget is insufficient. The second one is that the ownership of file server is unclear. The third one was that the file server does not meet the user requirements at all. And the fourth one is that the controls assigned to the file server are not adequate. Now we look at the problem as stated by the head of risk management. The various problems that the head of risk management states in reference the file server is too slow because too many users access it at the same time, which makes it act bizarre at peak times when the user load is more than expected. As a result, the reports are delayed or missing, which in turn has questioned the integrity and the efficiency of his team. In the end, he suggests and understands the benefits of data warehouse, but again, the ownership is unclear, and there is also a degree of uncertainty about who will make the payment of it. He argues that the product executives should pay for it as it is a business enabler. Now, clubbing the various problems stated by the head of risk management, we have identified 5 issues. One of them being the file server performance is questionable. The second one is that the resource contention of file server is too severe. The third one is that the ownership of file server is unclear, which was stated earlier by the CIO as well. The reports are not produced or missing, which in turn is questioning the efficiency of his team. That is the fourth issue that we have identified. And again, the ownership of payment of the proposed system is unknown. Now, clubbing these 2 separate cognitive maps, we've come up with a group cognitive map which clubs all the issues as stated by the CIO and the head of risk management. Thank you.
Ethics as a social technical approach. Ethics is the acronym for Effective Technical and Human Implementation of Computer-Based Systems. It was devised by Annie Mumford, and it describes ethics as a participative methodology approach to information systems development, focusing on people and procedures. It encompasses the social technical view that for a system to be effective, the technology must fit closely with the social and organizational factors. This means that an improved quality of life and enhanced job satisfaction of the users must be the main objective of the system design process. This is an essential prerequisite to achieving effective systems. Mumford's definition of social technical approach is one which recognizes the interaction of technology and people and procedures, work systems, which are both technically efficient and have social characteristics which lead to higher job satisfaction. Mumford's definition of job satisfaction is the attainment of good fit between what the employee is seeking from his work, that is, his job needs, expectation, and aspiration, and what he's required to do in his job, that is, the organization requirements which mold his experience. In order to attain how good this fit is, we can apply Parsons' framework, which describes job satisfaction. These measurements are knowledge fit, basically says the employees believe their skills are properly used and knowledge is developed to enhance skills. Psychological fit, a job must fit the employee status, advancement, and work interest. Efficiency fit includes 3 things: the effort reward bargain, work controls must fit employee expectation, and 3, supervisory control. Task structure fit, the degree to which the employee's tasks are regarded as being demanding and fulfilling. Ethical fit measures whether the employees match those of the employee's organizations. So measures the values of the employees that match the employees' organizations. Participation is essential to ethics methodology. It involves those affected of the system, which includes direct users and also indirect users, such as management, customers, and suppliers, and so on. In ethics, users are involved in the decision concerning the work processes and how the use of technology might improve their job satisfaction, both short and long-term efficiency. It mainly helps to find problems of existing systems and setting efficiency and social objectives for new system. The next section is an analysis of the problems associated with the file server interfering with the operation risk team, and it also highlights their work satisfaction. Ethics methodology can be applied to the case of Easy Credit Australia, ECA, because it describes how this methodology and participation structure can be used in the system design process to lead to a system solution that is effective, efficient, acceptable, and stimulating. The main problems interfering with the risk management team relate to the increase of nightly batch file size, causing the file serving performance to deteriorate. Consequently, these batch files are unable to load due to the availability of disk space, and therefore analysts can't upload their files due to the performance related to resource contention. That is, multiple users uploading at any one time. Additionally, as all these employees have access to the file server, there is an issue of privacy and security of customer data. Personal data on the file server is about 500 GB, contributing to the lack of disk space. The current file server has led to a limited improvement in efficiency and producing adverse human consequences. We can group the analysts by splitting them into two main groups. One handle risk report to the head of credit card and experience a great deal of stress and pressure, particularly when dealing with complaints from not getting risk report on time, although its work is challenging and varied. The other group of analysts deal with other product reporting, for example, mortgages and consumer and personal finance, and have monotonous and routine work with little pressure but also little interest and challenge. This indicates that a diagnosis of efficiency is needed, which is a key step in ethics methodology known as variances. The definition of variances is that it's the tendency for a system or subsystem to deviate from some desired or expected norm or standard. Variances in relation to ECA are operational, which includes bottlenecks and insufficient information of the file server due to poor design. A good fit between the organizational needs and employee needs yields a high job satisfaction as stated above. However, if job experience does not meet job needs and expectation, then there will be an absence of job satisfaction. In the case of ECA, poor performance of the file server may make it impossible to meet employees' needs towards an effort reward incentive for the number of reports delivered on time. Ethics methodology is seen as a change process, and therefore it's likely to involve conflict of interest between all participants or actors in that process. Mumford summarizes change and conflict as all change involves some conflict of interest. To be resolved, these conflicts must be recognized, brought into the open, negotiated, and a solution arrived at which largely meet the interests of all parties in this situation. Successful change strategies required institutional mechanisms which enable all these interests to be represented, and participation provides these. In the case of ECA, we can see that there is conflict among CEO, product executive, head of RM, CIO, in regards to the problems existing with the file server and who is responsible to pay for the new proposed system. The successful implementation of the new system is therefore a process of negotiation between the affected interested parties. Obviously, major affected and interested parties include the user themselves, and if these people are left out of decision making, then the process of change is unlikely to be a success. Essentially, it is essential to include users, that is the risk management team, who directly use the file server in the decision process, because they have a lot to contribute in making the implementation a success. The users, this is because the users are knowledgeable about the current workplace situation and the future requirements, and because they have the direct, because they use it on a daily basis. So that concludes this section. I will now pass you back to Lucas, who will talk about the next section and also the conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Based on ethics, will a data warehouse solve all the problems? We believe that the answer is no. Based on ethics methodology, there's many aspects that need to be considered before implementing a solution. First of all, it's the need to identify the current process and current issues, establish a mission and mission tasks, evaluate what activities contribute to job satisfaction and which one not, what activities contribute to the efficiency and what not, and from this major analysis over the ethics framework, we should define the solution. Easy Credit could, for example, proceed with a business process modeling to analyze their current process, as they can also use it to develop more efficient ones. They can use soft system methodology to identify what are the different perspectives from the stakeholders and different expectations. They can clarify what kind of input they need, what kind of output they need, and from this select a better option to solve all the problems, also increasing the job satisfaction and the employee fit to the organization process. Our conclusion is that the issues that EasyCredit has been facing is not only depending on their file server, but as the lack of guidelines and alignment between their RT service and systems to their business objectives. There is an unclear understanding of what is the importance of good reports for the business continuity and as a business enabler. For this, we suggest to EasyCredit that proceeds with a better business analysis of their really requirements in order to enable the organization to create better business process that allows them to deliver more job satisfaction and efficiency. Thank you.